Welcome! I'm making this for my niece and it's a graduation tumbler. So it's one of the skinny ones and the top isn't really super big around. So I just wanted to show you guys how I'm gonna do this. So the first thing I'm gonna do, this isn't gonna be able to close anymore. It's just gonna have to be open all the time. But the first thing I'm gonna do is put some of my fake whipped cream, which is lightweight spackling. So I'm just using a popsicle stick and I'm gonna just cover this lid. And then once I have it fully covered, I'm going to take my popsicle stick and just scrape it across the top to like even it out with the top of the lid. I have a little space there, so I'm just going to put a little more there and do the same thing. And then I need to open up the hole for the straw. So I just have a disposable straw here and I'm just going to poke that through from the bottom. And then I'm just going to kind of wiggle it around in there so I have a nice big space, because this straw is probably a little bit smaller than the straw that will go in here permanently. And then I'm going to set this aside and just let that dry overnight or until it's completely dry. Normally when I do fake whipped cream topper kind of things, I do a styrofoam ball, and you could do that if you have like a small styrofoam ball that would fit here. But because of the opening, and also I don't have any styrofoam balls on hand that are the right size to do this, I'm just going to show you a different way we can do it. So I have a piping bag here, folding it down so I can put some of my spackling in there. And I'm not going to need too much. We're just basically going to make a little dollop that we can use as the structure. And you don't need a tip or anything like that in the bag. We're just going to cut off the end and we can use it that way. So I'm just going to cut off a good amount here so I can make a good sized dollop. I have a piece of wax paper here. So I'm just going to push my fake whipped cream down into the end. And then I'm just going to make a small little dollop. And this is just going to help me get the structure and the height for my whipped cream topper. So I'm going to let this dry until it's completely dry. And I'm going to let the lid dry until it's completely dry. And then we'll come back and finish up. Okay, so I've let these dry, and so now I'm going to make my topper. I had thought about putting some different things, like maybe a little mini donut or something like that, but I think I'm just going to keep this one really simple because the lid is so small. It just feels like putting stuff on there is going to be kind of too much. So I think I'm just going to go with some sprinkles. I found some really cute ones on Amazon. So they have all these different ones. Some of them are really small, and then they go up to like bigger sizes. And then there's stars and hearts and snowflakes and little Mickey Mouse heads. So I'm going to use some of these, I think. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is take my little dollop of fake whipped cream, and I'm going to put some hot glue and just glue it right in the center of this. Oh, and I forgot to say, to get this to dry, it took a few days. I don't know why it took so long. It seems excessively long. So now we need to pipe on the actual whipped cream. So I'm going to use a 2D tip. You can use any tip that you like for this, but I just like how the 2D comes out for the toppers. And then I have my piping bag. So I'm just going to take my tip and put it into the piping bag and press it down as far as it goes. And then I'm going to take scissors and make a mark just below the openings on the piping tip. And then I'm just going to cut where I made that mark. And then push the tip through. And then I just need to fill my piping bag with my spackling. Then you just want to press the spackling down into your tip. And then I'm going to go around the little dollop of whipped cream that I made. So if you want it to look more like ruffly, you just want to move slowly. If you want it to look more kind of like ice cream look, then move your hand faster. So mine isn't wide enough for how I want it, so I'm just going back through and kind of adding some more to the edge. And I find it's easier to do this if you want to add some more when it's kind of the ruffly look rather than the swirly look. And then I just want to make sure that nothing's going to cause the lid to not screw on. So if there's anything down on that part, I'm just going to kind of push it up or scrape it off. Okay, so now I just need to put my sprinkles on. So I chose these little stars and then this colorful one. Okay, so now I'm just gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna go back in and seal the whole thing so that it can be easy to clean off since it's gonna be on the top of a tumbler. I almost forgot we have to poke the hole for the straw again through this layer. So you have to find the hole and then just use your disposable straw again. I'm just poking it all the way through and pulling it out the top. Make sure it's going to be big enough for the straw that's going to be in the cup when you give it away. Okay, so I have let this dry for several days. We actually moved, and so this has actually been sitting for probably over a week now, but it was dry before that. So give it a few days, I would say, to make sure that it's nice and dry. I'm going to coat this with resin so that it stays nice and shiny and she's able to like wipe it off and clean it off. So this is just resin that I grabbed from Walmart a long time ago. I have a disposable cup here, so I'm just going to measure out a small amount. It's not going to take very much because we're just going to do a light coat across the top. Then I'm just going to mix these together until they're completely combined, no cloudiness or streakiness in it. So for this part, you can either use a Q-tip or you can use a brush. Just keep in mind, if you use a brush, you won't be able to reuse it. You'll have to just throw it out. So I don't know where my brushes are, so I'm going to use a Q-tip for this part. And what we're going to do is just coat the entire thing lightly. Try to get inside all the crevices and make sure everything's covered so that it makes it a wipeable surface. And then you'll also want to get inside of this hole. And I'm going to go in through the bottom as well and just make sure I get that coated really well. And just make sure you're not putting it too thick. You don't want it to be like caked up anywhere or like filling in the areas to where you can't see the definition. I would recommend using a brush, you guys. I have switched over and the Q-tip was like getting on my nerves, so I had to stop and search for a brush because I don't have the patience. If you want, also, you could tape around your lid to make sure you don't get any resin on there. I didn't do that. I don't think I'm going to put a thick enough coat anywhere that it's going to drip, but if you are worried about that, or if you're selling them and you just want to make sure it doesn't get messy, then be sure to do that as well. Okay, so now it's fully coated. I'm just going to kind of go in, and if there are any spots that look like I got too much resin, I'm just going to kind of scoop it out of there. So this didn't take much at all. I think total I probably used about 5 milliliters, so I have a lot wasted. So I would suggest doing a small amount of your resin so you don't waste. Okay, then I'm just going to let this dry until all the resin is hardened, and then it'll be ready to give to her. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.